Good morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. My name is Corbin. I'm very happy to spend this next hour with you to talk about social media, how you market, manage, and improve trade shows and exhibitions. Things before we get started here, you do need to do a little work with this. You will need to open up the files. There are four different files. We're starting with UFI1, social-UFI1, and you'll need to scroll down with me. I'll point out the slide numbers as we come through with this. Also, the full slide, this will be all archived with this, and I also have the course notes available at the web address on the first slide there. Social media is a fairly complex issue, and it is. We'll kind of do the highlights today and how that will apply. But it's the next slide. If we go down to slide number 2 on the UFI-1 PDF file, and this is a kind of an example of what social media is with this. It's actually, this is the Hong Kong subway map, and it's that is a pretty good example of the range and the complexity of social media. It's a lot of interlocking pieces, but it's a little hard to see. But right at the heart there, in the red circle there, it is you. And at the heart of social media is user-generated content. It's about people participating. It's about a conversation that people will have. And so let me simplify this slide a little bit, because there are really 4 different parts of social media as it goes through it. And so if we go down to slide number 3, it still has you in the center here, but there are 4 parts. There's social publishing, social collaboration, social networking, and the social feedback sites. And so we're going to go through briefly in each of these, highlight the importance of this and how that may apply in an exhibition setting with this. We'll go down to slide number 4. I'm not a huge fan of Rupert Murdoch, the global media tycoon, but if we go down to slide number 5, this quote I think is very appropriate. He says that technology is shifting the power away from the editors, the publishers, the establishment, the media elite. It's now the people who are in control. But if you paraphrase this, he is talking about social media with this, and if you paraphrase this, social media is shifting the power away from the venues, from the trade show manager, from the exhibitors is now the attendees who are in control. Instead of top down, it's bottom up. Is a very different approach to how things are run and will be managed for events. In my belief in trade shows. And if you go down to slide 5, this is a little bit of an overstatement, but the social media is like word of mouth on steroids. It's a very, very powerful tool. And if you consider it on slide number 7, events are social, and that's what it is. Trade shows are social. If you boil down trade shows and events, the thing that's common to all MICE events is that we bring people together. And if you look at social media, it does the same thing. They bring people together. And if used properly, these tools should go hand in hand with each other. They should work fine with that. Slide number 8, let's just take a look at, to begin with, the traditional methods of marketing. There's your website, and this still should be essential to your marketing effort. Today is Yellow Pages. You need to be there. 85% of people use websites in their research about companies and in connecting and so forth. It's completely trackable, so that's a nice thing. You can track and clicks, and you can get analytics with that. But the downside of a website is that it's typically static. It's pull rather than push. You have to physically go onto the page and explore around. It doesn't land on your desktop. And a key thing that we'll be going back to regularly is that you don't have a trusted basis of comparison. People trust information from their colleagues and friends by a factor of about 90%, but people don't trust advertising. There's about a factor of 14% of people that say they trust advertising. And so that's the big gap here, is the difference with this, is that websites are essentially advertising. And so there's a factor there when people are telling you what to do. If you go down to 9, the email has benefits as well. It's cheap and it's trackable. It's still a important part of a marketing effort. But the challenges with email is that you have reduced open rates and effectiveness. You're losing the under 35 age, the Facebook or other ones. Email is something their parents do with that. And so you have spam you can't get to, especially unsolicited mass emails. It's difficult to get to spam filters at times. And again, you don't have the trusted base of comparison with that. Now you look at social media, some of the benefits. It's the tools are free, they're completely trackable. It's a new inbox for many. We have 1.1 billion Facebook users alone, as for example, and there's a significant percentage, maybe 20%, are using it for business, but 20% of 1.1 billion is still a lot of business. And you have trusted bases of comparison when you're sharing information back and forth with colleagues. Challenges, and we'll address this later on, it's still evolving. It's kind of the Wild West. I have the Wild West scene of the United States there. There's a lot of changes with this, and it's difficult to get eyeballs. It's difficult with a lot of noise out in the system to get people watching that and so being aware of that. So we'll discuss those issues as well. If you look at this is pretty much hot off the press in slide number 11 as we go through the marketing landscape, is that people asked marketing for event organizers, 1,500 event organizers on a global basis, how important is social media to you? 3/4 said it is very important, and so there's only 10% is not important at all. So it is having an impact. It is being used with this. This is another one in slide 12. What social media channels do you use? And Facebook is number one. Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google+, blogs. We're going to be discussing most of this in a relatively brief time. But in some ways, we need to be thinking about rethinking marketing. And there's inbound marketing and outbound marketing. The outbound marketing is, in fact, trade shows are somewhat in this way as well, but I think that trade shows play a very valuable tool with this. But telemarketing, direct mails, e-blast, print ads, this is pushing it out, pulling it out. People they have to go through that. Inbound marketing is a whole different strategy, which social media falls into that. Search engine optimization, so that your pages will come up on keyword searches. Blogging, social media, RSS, it's really simple syndication, viral videos. These are all ways of getting the message out in a permission-based, because people want it rather than being pushed, having it pushed at you. So social media is about listening, it's not about shouting, it's about collaboration and communication. It's a new way of thinking. Instead of top-down, it's bottom-up, and that is a real big difference in how things are being marketed. So if you go on the slide number 15 in the beginning, and then the slide 16 with this social media. When you start a social media effort, there are things that I believe should be done right from the outset. You should set up ways of benchmarking and setting your goals and measuring your progress. You need to identify your key audiences. Who are you going after? What do you want them to do? And how are you going to measure success? There are multiple ways that you can measure success. And in fact, slide 17 shows some of that. And these are just some of them. I won't read through all of them. You'll have them in the course notes with that. But it's a different way of measuring success than past marketing efforts in some case. But how you engage people and how many unique users that you have, and where they're coming from, and are they converting over. And so it's important to set out your specific goals and metrics for that. Also at the beginning of slide 18, it is about social media as much about listening as it is about talking. In fact, probably more so. It's about a conversation. And so a key part of social media, your brand is becoming no longer what you say it is. It's what people are saying it is about you online. And so this is happening whether you are paying attention to it or not. And so one of the key first steps, I think, is reputation management. You need to know what is being said about you. One of my favorite free tools is Google Alerts in slide 19. You can go ahead and set up keyword phrases that are of your company name or your product name or your competitors' names, and there are lots of ways that you can set this up. And you can set up to receive every time that there's a mention on the web or on a daily basis. I personally do it on a weekly basis to know what's being said online in the social media channels about my company and what I'm doing, my keyword phrases with that. Slide 20 demonstrates the impact of this. This is this last year, Domino's Pizza in the United States. And it's a little gross, but there was a viral video that came out about employees spitting into the pizza, and so this was going crazy. And the CEO of Domino's responded to it immediately. They addressed the issues. They came on and said, this is specifically what we're doing, make sure. And so instead of hiding it, they went forward. And that's what you have to be, is open, transparent, and know when things are happening. And in order to do that, you need to be listening for them. Okay, let's go to the first of the 4 steps with this. And I'm talk about social publishing, and these involve blogs and YouTube and so forth. We'll talk briefly about each of these and the relative powers with that. So social publishing, if we go down to slide 23, we're going to be going to some of the websites with this. I won't read these out, but this is for reference when you want to go back with this. Let's start with blogs, and this is kind of on the basic level. It's a weblog, or a term. It's a contraction for weblog. Typically are dated. The most recent entry is on the top. If there's an opportunity to leave comments, I call it the mother of all social media, because this is where a lot of content happens, and that's where people go to get information. And blogs is a key source. Blogs are a key source for that. Slide 25. 77% of businesses have acquired customers through a company blog. This is a key one. Companies that blog get 55% more web traffic if you do that effectively. It is easy to open up a blog. This is a recent blog posting of mine. It's on WordPress. It's one that you can access. It looks pretty simple, but it's free, and it has all the bells and whistles. It has feed burner subscription. It has RSS news feeds, so people can subscribe and receive it automatically as a new posting comes out. It has geo event tagging with this. It has the ability to drop in photos and videos very simply. If you can use Word, you can use WordPress. And so this is one example, but there are many other vehicles out there for that. In slide 27, 97% more inbound links for companies that blog, 434% more index pages for companies that blog, 55% more website visitors. These are huge numbers with this. And one of the Google is the major search engine out there. The way that Google ranks keyword searches in the organic search is the major way is by the number of inbound links that you have from other sites. And so if your site your blog is being read, or other bloggers are being read that link to your site, that improves your site's ranking status. And so that's really the key where what benefits are for blogs. Some recommendations about what you have, and these are some of the ones in the hotel, venue, convention center industry to check out with this. Lucky Orange in slide 29 is a great analytics tool to analyze your blog and website as well. It gets down, you can do it free for a month. It's a relatively low fee on a monthly basis for that, to see not only where people are going on the pages on your site, but what they're looking at, what they're clicking at. There are eat spots. It's an interesting one to measure that analytics. Couple of key things with this in terms of how you do that. It's recommended that 250 words or shorter is about the average length of them. We keep short and sweet. Weekly postings are good if you have the time. You write for scannability, bullets, lists, pictures, graphs, those type of things. And bring in video and pictures with that. It makes that video is a new language of the internet. I'll get to that in a minute. and link to bloggers' articles, and use a catchy title. I love this website, Tweak Your Biz. And so, for example, on slide 31, I entered in hybrid meetings as an example. You could put in any noun or verb, and then it will come up with, in slide 32, dozens of ideas and of catchy titles. Where the title is it's the most important real estate on your blog of getting people in. And so it's just a great way of getting information out there. And then also just have a clear call to action in your blogs. What do you want people to do? And so, if, for example, at the end of my blog, I have these one people I want to do. I want to establish a relationship and get them not only just to my blog, but to my newsletter, which is one of my major targeting vehicles. So have a clear, if you want them to come to the exhibit, do you want them to do these things? Have a clear call to action about what you want them to do. And one of the things, if you don't have the time to do it, do a blog. It's not up for everyone. Not everyone has that capability. The other way is to look for the influencers that are bloggers. And so the site I mentioned previously, Technorati, it ranks by keywords who are the top blogs and who are the major influencers. Bloggers are always looking for information. If you establish a relationship with them or provide them information, they almost undoubtedly will blog about that. And so that's another way of getting visibility in the blogosphere. Let's go on to YouTube, slide number 35 with this. This is the second most used site in the world after its owner, Google. The 1 billion monthly users, 60 hours per minute are uploaded. It's more every month than in the United States. The three major TV networks from the history from 1949 on have loaded up in their entire history. It's loaded up every month on YouTube. There's a huge channel with this. And you can see it's growing with this. The hours being uploaded over the years in slide number 36 here. It's growing, essentially doubling every year with that. Blogs can be a very powerful tool. I believe that video is a very powerful tool with this. I believe it's a new language of the internet, essentially. There's the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a good video can be worth 1,000 pictures. And so it can have a real impact. On slide number 37, it shows a viral video with this. And so it's with this, and this is a classic viral video. It's the Will It Blend, and this one came out just about a year ago with this one, and so it was Blendtec is a high-end blender maker. It costs over $500 US dollars for that, and so the CEOs had the idea. Well, you saw his testers grinding up hockey pucks and 2x4s and timber and so forth. They could reduce anything to dust essentially. And so they said, well, why don't we start videotaping these and putting them online? And this is one example where they're blending an iPhone 5 and a Galaxy 3 just when they came out. And this was posted 3 days. I took the screenshot 3 days after it was originally posted, and they had 7 million views with this. And so but you don't have to have 7 million views for this. You just need to, if you could put these up there, people can, this is a great inexpensive way of getting information out about marketing for trade shows, for trade show managers, about going around and videotaping the different exhibitors and top 10 exhibitors at the show and making a short video with this. Have some recommendations when you make videos. Record in HD. We have HD in our phones now. You keep it short. Use the right thumbnail image with that. You can choose with that. Use a catchy title. Keyword phrases are very important. You can add some titles. You can use Lead Player to capture email and generate calls. This is, in fact, the next slide, 39. This is a free 30-day trial, relatively inexpensive, that you can add calls to action within your videos. An interesting tool with that. So This then takes me to, it's the end of the first file. We're going to go down to UFI 2. It's loading up for me, and so let's go on to the next part of the, this is the social publishing. We're still in social publishing. The Pinterest. This is an interesting, relatively recent addition to the social media sphere. What is it? A virtual pin board, an inspiration board comprised of images and photos. A place to waste a lot of time, and it could be all three with this, but there's some key things to be aware of with this. And then if you go down to slide number 2 with that, and then on the second file, UFI 2 with this, there's you look at unique audiences and the time spent with this, and so as you go with this, you have the people are moving to more to a social field with us. Let's go down to actually number 3 here is a more of a relevant one here. You look at the average minutes per visitor on some of the major social media channels. Facebook is a major player with this, but you look at just following that is Pinterest. And so you have some very powerful capabilities with this. But the slide number 4 really says, I think, the most important one. It's referral traffic. It's the click-through. And Pinterest, admittedly, is made for click-throughs that you take it off to another site with this. But if you look at the click-through traffic, it has more than all the other major social media channels combined. That's a real power of Pinterest. And also, on slide 5, the pins on Pinterest last, in some cases, thousands of times longer than most posts on Facebook or the average tweet, which is just this constant stream. People will refer to these on a much longer basis. Some key players with this, I mean, just for looking for great examples, Starbucks is an example of how social media is done right with that. I have my Pinterest board with this. I have areas of travel that I like, but I can also pin videos. You can pin infographics with this, and so in my site, pinterest.com/CorbinBall.com, will give you some examples of my favorite apps with this, and there's a bunch of places. And then you look around in the kind of the hospitality and venue landscape, and you look at major players. Atlantis Dubai is an example, excellent example of a hospitality venue using Pinterest with that. But let's go into, we're going to save, although Twitter is technically a social publishing area. We're going to move to that in a later one because it can also be considered a networking site as well. So we're going to talk about Pinterest later. Let's go on to social collaboration. And just real briefly on this one, these are great tools that you can use as exhibitors, as venues for this to communicate with clients. A wiki, it's a collaboratively written website. It's great for sharing and collaborating documents. It's natural for planning meetings and other project management tools. And so slide 11, and we'll go to a couple of sites with this. Slide 12, email is a bane to our existence in many ways. And in slide number 12, you have 7,490 messages, but usually you don't have that look on your face. It's more like a look of shock. It's that people suffer from email overload. Slide 14 is you miss important messages. There's so much stuff out there. It's interruptive. You have there are spam filters, so sometimes the messages don't get through. You don't have a standard filing or retrieval protocol. Conversations are not threaded. Document versions, if you have a document, who has the latest version with this? So we must move beyond that. One of my favorite tools, I've been using it for 5 years now since it's been out, is Google Docs. This is a type of a wiki, and so you go in and there are 3 major parts of that. There's a word processing, there's a spreadsheet component, and there is a presentation graphics. I don't recommend the presentation graphics at all. but the others work great with this. And this, I'll give you one example here. I just shared the EIBTM Tech Watch here. We're announcing the winners. The winners are announced just this week with this. But how we used to do that, I've been doing this for 10 years, we used to all fly to London and sit around the table. There were 7 judges in 5 different countries, and we sit around the table and make the choices with that. And then it occurred to me, we can do this a better way that would be save a lot of money as well. And so I created a spreadsheet, and so the spreadsheet had the judging components on it, and so the judges in advance all made their scores, and then I would sort it the spreadsheet, and then we all get online on an international conference call, and it would take about 2 hours instead of days, collective days of travel, the cost of travel expenses to do that we could come up with a result much faster and quicker than we've ever been able to do it before using a free tool. And you may be in situations as a venue, you're dealing with meeting planners, or you're dealing with the different sources that are outside your venue, or you're dealing with exhibitors and so forth. Wikis are a great tool to be able to do that. And so it allows you to collaborate, to work on things. Everybody's on the same page collectively. There are other project management tools out there as well that are essentially wikis that allow you to do that you manage your documents in one location. So we need to, if we're going to come into the century in terms of how we manage data, we've got to get beyond email. And I think the wiki or these social collaboration tools that are free are a good way to go. Let's go on to the social network, and this is where people in slide number 18. This is when people talk about social media. That's what people most commonly think is what it is with this. And so if we go down, we're going to go to some of the common sites with that in slide 19, but let's start with Facebook in slide 20. You have 1.1 billion users and 1 in 7 people on this planet. And slide 21 indicates the tremendous growth of Facebook with this. The time to reach 50 million users, it took 38 years for radio, 12 years for television, 5 years for the internet, 3 years for iPod, MP3 players. It only took 9 months to reach 100 million users for Facebook. And now we are at 1.1 billion users with this. 500 billion in the number of minutes spent every month collectively on Facebook in slide number 22. Slide 23, 25 billion is the amount of content loaded up each month on Facebook. Huge amounts of content. But this is really a key one here is from HubSpot. 67% of business to business and 41% of business to consumer companies have acquired customers through Facebook. This is a new inbox for many people. Slide 22 shows my smiling face on Facebook with this, and so this is a place to start with this. But slide 26 has as an example of the ad capabilities and ad abilities with this, and this is a great way to target really specific groups. If we want to target males between 35 and 40 that are interested in such and such, Facebook, people will go in and fill in their whole social profile and what their likes are, and you can really very precisely target people. Well, this one I have it circled around the ad on the right-hand corner. My class of 1967, and so I'm dating myself, but they have that down with this. And for somehow it's a diet to burn stomach fat. It's been a constant challenge. How do they know that about me? I don't know, but it is a great way of marketing it. So that's Facebook. We are now going to go on to the file number UFI3, second from the top with this, and continue on with that. And so we're starting on slide is that. And if you do have questions, I am trying to monitor as it goes by here. I can't respond in the text way, but if you do see questions here, I'll be happy to answer these as we go along. I'll just type them into the question box there. I don't have, as a speaker, for some reason, I don't have a means of texting back, but I'll try to address those as we go through. Facebook features. It's a huge audience. You have full multimedia capability. You can link in with Pinterest and with blog postings, and with that, it's a really great way of doing it. You have Facebook events, you have abilities for check-in, deals. There's a lot of, there's the interactivity and the interoperability with a lot of other social medias. There's, as I mentioned, a very robust advertising as well with this. There are sites out there such as Tab site that I recommend is one that if you are, for example, wanting to do a contest or a sweepstake or reviews, this is an effective site to use for integrating in with Facebook to do that. So look around in a hospitality range and just kind of examples of good sites. I was looking around for a convention center site, and I'd be happy to see one if anybody has suggestions on that. But Fairmont Hotels is one that has a good way. They've had lots of likes, and they're using Facebook. They have Instagram integration, which is owned by Facebook, Pinterest, there's pictures, there's video, there's a whole bunch of things with this. So Facebook, even though it's 80% social, there's a 20% business, and I definitely think that people should have a presence on there. In slide number 3, or number 4, I mean, let's go on to LinkedIn. This is one that I think that every business professional should have a profile on, and every business should have essentially should have a Facebook business page with this. 225 million users. It's a high average income. It's a higher than average age range for it. These are business people on there. 80% of companies in the United States use LinkedIn for recruitment. Executives for every Fortune 500 company have LinkedIn members. And one of the things that's great about about LinkedIn is the great search and research capabilities with this, and that's a real benefit of this. Is you can find out who the influencers are. There are groups for everything. If you wanted to target left-handed meat cutters, you could go in and probably find a group on LinkedIn for this. And so that's the component of it. Here's my LinkedIn profile. Go in and completely fill this out. Other people can sing your praises far more loudly than you can, and so they have both recommendations and testimonials about you that people could write. And so those are the things, and fill it out completely. This is the new Rolodex. This is the new business card for people. People are changing jobs, but they keep their LinkedIn profile. And so once you connect with them, currently I am on a 3rd generation connected to 10 million people or something like that. So there's a great way of social networking. My first 3 connections are about 3,500 business ones. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Mention Ufi, and I'll be happy to follow you back. This is a couple of rules, though. Just in general, don't ever spam me. That will more quickly get you unlinked, unfriended, unfollowed than anything you can do. That's a general one, and so that's one of the things with this, for communications, for asking questions, for conversation, is for those type of things with that. If you go down and to slide number 6 with this, this is an area that you can find groups. In this case, I searched for meeting planning in the groups area. There are 239 for meeting planning alone. So that gives you an example. In the area of hospitality, there are 4,000 groups in hospitality with this. And so you can find really any area and find out what the information is with that. Let's go on to Twitter. And as I mentioned, this is a social publishing site. It's a mini blog with this, and but it's also being used for networking at events as well. And so slide number 9 is the Twitter. Slide number 10 would go on. It's a microblog. It's 140 characters maximum. Slide 11, there are 500 million users, 230 million regular users with this. And those are big numbers. Of this, 190 million tweets every day with this in slide 12 and slide 13. 60% plus of tweets are mobile. This is natural for events. These are being used for communication, for back channel efforts at events, at trade shows. This is becoming commonplace in the United States and other parts of the world with this, is that the Twitter hashtag is an important component of it. Slide 14, the original thought of Twitter was, what are you doing? But people are not really interested in what you have had for breakfast. They are interested in new things that you found, interesting areas, articles, offers that you have, things that are happening at your venue, your facility, so forth with this. What are you doing? But you look at this one on slide 15, and this is the impact on inbound traffic to a website. And so this just came out, and you can see that the more Twitter followers you have, the more this affects your inbound traffic with this. This is the key part of this. It's about social website optimization and search engine optimization and so forth. So this affects that. A few recommendations for Twitter. It's use it as a pointing device in slide 16 to other web content. You shorten the web address. These are some of the ones: Owly, Bitly, TinyURL are some examples with this. I have a free tool that I use all the time to do that for me, and a whole bunch of other things I'll talk about in a little bit. You publish use a hashtag. These are a couple of examples. EventProf is one that I use on a regular basis about meetings technology. People are interested in that. If you have an event hashtag, publish it well in advance and promote across the other platforms as well. Increasingly, people are using that. If you do a post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Google Plus, you use that as some people that becomes kind of a common search phrase across. If you put up, for example, you can search for that hashtag on YouTube and find the videos around a certain event with this. So, and then monitor across platforms. One of my favorite ones here is tag board in slide 17, and I entered, for example, Oofy with this as a hashtag, and slide 18 shows there's a whole range of different things that people are using the Oofy hashtag for that. So that's one of the great ways. It's just kind of an interesting way of displaying with it. Slide 19, well, there's a saying that if a tree falls in the woods, if no one's around to hear it, did it make a sound? And the thing with Twitter is if you are posting and you have no followers, you are not making a sound. You're having no impact. And the whole idea about Twitter is to be getting useful followers with this. And so how do you do that? Well, main things, you tweet good stuff. You timely announcements, articles, program updates, things that are happening at your venue, action alerts, all sorts of things with that, and also retweet others as well. It's a reciprocal economy, as many of the social media channels are. And so if you tweet others, they'll tweet back and will follow you back as well. So how do you not get meaningful followers? And so slide number 20 is an example from this. These are ones that I have received. And first of all, Freddie Peterson, there's no description, there's no bio. There's a 160-character bio that you have. There's no hot link to the website. There's no picture, and his account is private. There may be some reasons why you may want to have a private Twitter account, but I can't think of hardly any of them. If you're doing Twitter, you want to have that in an open way so people can see what you're tweeting about. You can see these only has one over on the right here. There's a 1618 and 116 following, only 18 followers. And if you have that discrepancy, something's wrong with what you're doing with it. You have a lot fewer followers than you have. Let's go down to slide 21. Nino Scott, again, no picture, no advertising, or no bio with this, no hot link. And he has one tweet, and it's Hola. Okay, so he has 673 followers, only 2 followers with this. He's following 673. And this is it. So my recommendations, you go in before you even start tweeting, if you haven't done that already, is you fill in your profile, get your picture, get your 160-character bio with this, do 3 or 4 tweets. One of them, I'm new to Twitter and looking forward to connecting with people, and maybe your favorite quote and a link to your favorite article or a hot article, and let people know what you're interested in and what you're about. And then you start following people. People typically check out of one that follows them and then follow you back if you have something interesting to say. Okay, this next one, 22, is how this one has, if you look over here, they have 211 following. They only have 18 followers, but they're doing many things right. They have the picture, they have the bio below, they have the hot link to their website. But if you look down at what they're saying, it's hi, I'm from Momar Supply Exhibition Display Products, and they're repeating this over and over and over again. This is hardcore sales. Twitter and the social media channels are not about hardcore sales. And so, and then one final one, and with this in slide 23, and you look over to the upper right-hand corner, they have, they're following 5,800. They're being followed by 5,289 people. So they only have one tweet. And so what's this? And so what they're doing is this is an auto follow back site. It's generated for generating followers, but they're totally meaningless followers. And they say, I'm tweeting from this area, and we'll follow you back. And so that's the whole idea is to get valuable followers with this. And so and with that, and so let's go down to slide number 24 with this, and with it. And so it's this is my site, and I have a fair amount of followers with this. You'll see the KDIC, that's a ranking score here. It's for clout. That's a good way to have this. You can integrate it in with Chrome or your browsers and see what people are with this. But it's an example of what it is. I mentioned, for example, I did this screenshot yesterday in preparing for the Rookie seminar tomorrow, 8 Pacific time, and and then the link to the address with this. And so Twitter is a great way of getting information out. If you have announcements, if you have press releases, if you have helpful information about what you are doing as an exhibitor or a facility, if you target as meeting planners or trade show managers, then you go, Twitter's a great way of setting an announcement channel with this as well. And one of the things that I do is I post, if I have major articles or new things, or I'll post across many of the channels with this, but Twitter's a great one for that. Let's go on to Google Plus. This has 500 million registered users, 359 active users with this. And slide 26 is an example with this, that it's part of an ecosystem that Google owns. It's a whole range of things, including Android and Blogger and YouTube and Gmail. And so Google Plus is part of that. And one of the things that's nice about Google Plus is that since it's owned by the major search engine company, it's optimized. Activity is optimized for website searches as well with that. So Google Plus you have the ability with this to go into many different channels. You can set up different friends. Google Plus is a kind of it's sort of a combination of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn together, and YouTube together with that. Because like Twitter, you can follow people back, and you don't have to friend them. Like Facebook, you can have groups of friends, and you can, and LinkedIn, you have groups of friends. You can bring them in. Like YouTube, you have a whole video production capability with this as well. And so this is a relatively newer one, but I think it should be part of a social media strategy of getting information out, connecting with people, interacting with them, and asking questions and those type of things. Going down to slide 28, one key part of this is Google Hangouts with that, and this is their video. This is their Skype. But Google Hangouts, instead of a one-to-one, you can have up to 9 different people simultaneously with this, And then with if you go down to slide number 29, you have Google Plus Hangouts on air that you can automatically record to YouTube. You can automatically stream to thousands of people the video content that you want as well. So it's a pretty cool tool. It's very inexpensive to use, and so this whole combination of technologies that Google Plus offers is great for promotion. It's great for getting information out, and it should be part of that process as well. Okay, we are at the end of that slide, so we will now go on to the file number UFI4, the top one on the list. And so those were the social networking site, and so I will we'll now go on to the fourth one. This will be relatively short, and then I'll talk about some time-saving tips about how you can manage this more effectively with this. The social review and feedbacks very quickly about this, and we'll go to a couple of the ones. But slide number 3 has, this is an older slide, but I still have it in there, even though it's is because it's even back in 2008. People were asked, how do you make your travel decisions? And back then, travelers' reviews and ratings on the internet was 50% of people back then, and now that was before the social media explosion really happened. Now, that number is increasing substantially with this about how people are making travel decisions, how they're going to be making decisions in general about purchase decisions. If you have a product or goods, it's going to be talked about on social review sites. And so, just a simple example that's been around for a long time is TripAdvisor. A couple of years ago, my fiance and I celebrated her 50th birthday in San Francisco, and so we were looking around for a inexpensive place in the summer time in San Francisco. We came across this little boutique hotel just off of Union Square, a block off of Union Square, in a desirable part of town. But $122, if you know San Francisco prices, that's really, really expensive. Could that be for real? And so you go into, in slide number 5, you read the reviews, you throw out the top rating, it's probably written by the hotel, you throw out the lowest one, it's probably written by the competitor, and you read through the range of things, and we had a great time at that, on that vacation there, because, partly because of TripAdvisor. And so this is an example I'll use if I'm paying for my own hotel. I'll be using that pretty much all the time to check that out before I go. But it's not just that. I have Yelp is an example of ratings and review sites. And so in slide number 6 is the circle around the top. I live in a small college town between Vancouver, Canada, and Seattle in the northwest part of the United States. And even in Bellingham, there's a section on event planning services with this. And so that is the power for this. And so if you have a goods or service, or an exhibition venue, people are going to be talking about you online. And so what you don't want is this next slide here. It's from slide number 7, and it's Jewel Osco, and it's a grocery store chain in Chicago. And they said in this, the 2 postings, I just kind of read this sort of because of the facetiousness of it. I'll give it 2 stars because it doesn't smell quite so much like pee anymore. And the other one is about finding a dime bag in a parking lot. And my point with this is that you're not going to see this on the Jewel Osco website here. But people are going to be talking about your brand, whatever it is. And so this is the thing. It's really important to be listening with this, but it's important to be being aware of what the channels are for that. Social review sites, I believe, will play an increasingly important part of how it is all managed with this. And so those are the 4 areas: the social publishing, the social collaboration, the social networking, and the social review sites. These are all part of how social media can help as a venue, help as a trade show manager, exhibitors, meeting planners here. They are being used for marketing. They're being used to collaborate with people, to bring people together. They're helping people make choices in how they do things. But people ask me, well, that's all good, but Corbin, I only have 24 hours in a day. How do you manage all this? And that goes into slide 8 and then slide 9 as well. And this goes, this this review is hot off the press as well as what are the reasons that prevent you from using social media. Number one is lack of time, followed by lack of know-how and so forth. But a major player here, people feel, is that they have a lack of time with this. When exhibit marketers were asked how much time do you spend on social media, the response was nearly half of them said is between 1 to 5 hours a week. And now, if you're a director of social media, that's a whole different thing. That's your full-time job. But as an average person that is forward-facing, that is dealing with public, it's my belief that you should be aware of these channels. You should be using some of them and spending some time on them. But the challenge is that social media can be a huge time sink. It's very important to budget your time to use it effectively. So I personally, I am active in all the social media channels, and I spend, my budget is no more than 30 minutes a day on it. And so I'll share with you just a few tips of how I do that. Let's see, the social media monitoring tools are one portion of this. This is a fresh survey with this. Only 20% are using the social media monitoring tools. And this includes the social media aggregators. And that's what I want to talk about here, because these are the tools that can really help you save time. These are some of them out here. I'll go through briefly a few of them. One of them is to know what's out there with this, and this is NOAA is an interesting one here. Just as there are more than 500 popular social networks in a whole different range of areas here, and so in this case, NOAA might put in Corbin Ball with this, and you'll see if your name or your brand is available in those things, and so you can see that many of these are grayed out. All the major ones are grayed out because I already have that established, that Corbin Ball is already my brand with that. I mentioned Cloud earlier. The Cloud Score is a great way of showing how you are doing on the social media channels. That measures your activity in all the major channels. Twitonomy is another great analytics tool for social media. In fact, if you go out and put your Twitter handle with this, it gives you page after page of details about what you're doing right, what's doing wrong with this. Tracker is a higher end social media monitoring tool. It's free for a month. It's about $19 US a month after that. A great way of analyzing your activity on the social media channels. Radian 6 on the very high end as well. So these social media monitoring tools and aggregators can be very helpful to you in terms of saving time and knowing what your activity is. In closing, there are a few things. This is the marketing funnel. And on the left-hand side, people are unaware of your product or service. On the right hand, they're loyal customers. The blue line indicates traditional media with this. And for example, you can see that it's easy to generate awareness. You just put enough money into advertising and you can do that. But you get into the preference stage, you don't have a trusted basis of comparison, and then it says, hey, stop spamming me in the loyalty stage. Social media is almost directly the opposite of that. It's hard to generate awareness. There's a lot of noise there, but once you get into the preference stage, you have trusted, relevant, personalized information. And the loyalty phase, your logo's on my favorite t-shirt with that. And so if you go down to slide 22, you can see there's a whole range of social media tools, most of which we've talked about. Viral videos can help you generate awareness, consideration, the blogs and social networking with this, the preference, the ratings and review sites, the action loyalty phase, communities and blogs and podcasting, support forums, wikis can all help you with this. In slide number 23, Kodak has gone through some real challenges lately to try to reorganize themselves, and I don't know if they are going to make that in this much smaller company than what they used to be. But I do like the job description here. It is the chief listener social media team. And that's really what it's about as you engage with this. It's about listening. It's about engaging in that conversation. Some quick tips, slide 24. Number one rule, don't sell directly. It's not about hardcore selling. It's about the conversation. Establish a clear social media policy with clear objectives and metrics of what you want. You identify your influencers with this, and you can go out to different channels and see who are the influencers on the blog channels and the different ones. Listen before you launch with this. It's more about listening as much as then about giving out with that. Integrate in with the social media, with your search engine optimization. That's a whole subject. I could spend a whole seminar on this alone, but it does help with that. You engage your audience and your employees. Sorry, be honest and authentic, and also be a human. You are a company doesn't tweet. A person tweets on behalf of the company. So Eric Qualman, I think, put it well. Said marketing landscape. You don't have a choice on whether you do social media. The question is how well we do it. And so that's really the bottom line with this. A few resources with this. I have thousands of categorized meetings and exhibition technology bookmarks at my favorites file, hundreds of free articles. I have a free newsletter that goes out every other month to nearly 10,000 people in 70 countries on meetings and exhibition and trade show technology. And so feel free to sign up for that. The QR code goes off to my mobile website, and then the course notes are available as well. I can be contacted at all the social media channels, so feel free to follow me on Twitter, to friend me on Facebook, link with me on LinkedIn, and so forth with that. They're available in all the different sites. And so just in closing, as we come to the end with this, what we're dealing with is a great area of change. This is a very rapid time of change. And this is my favorite quote about change from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. And that's really what we all have to do, I think, is as we go into these new methods of marketing and managing information here, we're going to go through lots of change. And so I would like to add on with humility to Charles Darwin's quote in the last slide in this, is that and this is a picture of me from high school, standing behind what the state-of-the-art projection technology is. 16mm projector. It is digital Darwinism is alive and well. Either adapt to technology change or lose business to those that do. The good news is that it's easier and cheaper than it's ever been before to do that. So I encourage you to go out to use these social media channels. Feel free to follow me or send questions to me at corbin@corbinball.com. And it's been a pleasure to speak for UFI, and I hope to see you at an UFI or another event. Thanks very much.